Hey guys, and welcome back to Battlefront Updates. In this video I wanted to share my full thoughts on Season 2 of The Mandalorian, as well as of course that epic final episode that came out last Friday. I've shared my thoughts on the individual episodes during my live streams and so on, but if you haven't watched them, I wanted to basically go over a little bit what I thought of this season, highlights, what I didn't like, and of course what I thought about that last episode. So let's just dive into it. It's going to be a little bit unstructured. I'm just going to talk about how I feel about the season overall and bring up a couple of points, simply put. And I can definitely start off by saying that I thought it was a fantastic season. Better than Season 1, and honestly, I really don't have a lot of complaints with it. There are plot holes in quite a lot of episodes, and there are some episodes that I like less, but overall it's just been really good. And they've really managed to bring in a lot of characters from the rest of the Star Wars universe in a good way. You know, I mean, Bo-Katan, they brought back Boba Fett, Ahsoka, and even Luke Skywalker. I think if you would have asked me like a year ago or even before The Mandalorian came out, and you would have told me, oh, by the way, The Mandalorian is going to be about a baby Yoda with really strong force powers being taken care of a Mandalorian, and you're also going to see a live-action Ahsoka, Luke Skywalker, Bo-Katan, Boba Fett, and the Darksaber in the same episodes, I would have thought you were crazy, and I would have thought that was just pure fan service, and it would never work. And I think this really shows that it all comes down to how you execute it, because as much as there is a lot of fan service in Season 2 of The Mandalorian, I don't think they have overdone it at all. I liked all of those character introductions. They all fit into the story. And for instance, bringing back Boba Fett makes a lot of sense. He was probably the character who, how do you put it, died the least, if that makes sense. I mean, Palpatine got thrown down a reactor shaft. Maul got cut in half. Boba Fett with full Mandalorian armor just got thrown into a pit. I mean, it makes sense that he survived. So to see him back and actually getting to show how badass he is was just amazing, in my opinion. And I'm not sure if maybe Boba Fett might be my favorite out of all the characters they brought back. I mean, Ahsoka, Rosario made a fantastic job with Ahsoka, and I don't really have a lot of complaints on that episode, but it's still only on like maybe the third or fourth spot in terms of how I would rank these episodes, which isn't because the Ahsoka episode was bad, it's just because the other ones are so freaking good. But just Boba Fett, I think, is the one they gave the most, I guess, backstory, and they made him really well in this season. Both bringing him back, the fact that he gets to explain his background a little bit, showing that he and Jango Fett is kind of like programmed into the armor, and just of course showing how badass he was supposed to be. He really sucked in the original trilogy, and I've never been a huge Boba Fett fan. I've always thought that Cad Bane is 1,000 times better bounty hunter, but now they get to show how Boba Fett was supposed to be. Everything from obviously him just shooting down and smacking down stormtroopers to the Slave One, seismic charges and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. Out of all the characters they brought back or that we've known about beforehand, I definitely think Boba Fett is my favorite, which I never thought I'd say. I've always been against Boba Fett. You guys know that. I've always thought he was very, very overrated, but not after seeing The Mandalorian. That's what I'll say. And again, that doesn't mean that any of the other characters were bad. And Bo-Katan was really well made, and I really hope they will continue that in Season 3, and we'll get to know what happens with the Darksaber, taking back Mandalore, and so on. And obviously, if you have that last episode, because that's the one I haven't discussed on the channel yet, I should probably focus on that a little bit. It really had everything I hoped for. Before Luke Skywalker showed up, I thought maybe it was a little bit underwhelming. They did that way too easily, and I was like, did they really not have a better plan for when the Mando was going to try to take back the kid? But then all those Dark Troopers came back, and then Luke arrived, and suddenly it was probably my favorite episode so far. And I've got to say, I am so happy they were bold enough to put Luke Skywalker in there. I mean, all the fighting scenes and all of that was just phenomenal, and since they didn't have to worry about showing his face, they could just go straight up with choreography, effects, and just badass battles. And then when he shows his face, obviously it does look a little bit off, I'll say that, but I'm so glad they still did it. They were bold enough to do it. They knew they might get some lashback from it, but it looked pretty good, I'll say. And I always felt running up to this episode that Luke is the only one who it makes sense would pick up Grogu, because if Ahsoka can't do it, there really shouldn't be anyone in the galaxy who is more powerful or more fitting to train Grogu than Luke, because although Luke might have had a couple of new apprentices by this time, since it's 5 years after Return of the Jedi, none of them should be near strong enough to actually train Grogu. So I was always hoping that Luke would be there somehow, but I did not expect him to do it this way. I thought maybe he would send someone, or we would see him in like a hologram. I really didn't expect him to show up, be this badass, and just also something I really enjoy with this is the fact that I've always thought, how can the Jedi and the Sith rule the galaxy? Because sometimes it feels like you can just blast them down with a blaster and then that's it. But right here he shows in battle how powerful he is. I mean, Din could barely take out a Dark Trooper, and that group would probably get slaughtered by that platoon of Dark Troopers. But he just tears through them like they're nothing. I don't know how many, 20 Dark Troopers, 30 maybe. He sliced through them like it was nothing. At the end, he was pretty much playing with them when he decided to crush one of them with the Force, which showing again how powerful the Jedi are, especially Luke Skywalker. And it wouldn't surprise me if he'd had some additional training, of course, since the Return of the Jedi. So yeah, all in all, I am very happy with that last episode. And there's so many details in this season overall that I enjoy so much. Whether it's just mentioning Operation Cinder as a reference to Battlefront 2, or places that have only had mention or have in the background, like the Tusken Raiders. They've always just been monsters to us, but now we get to see, I guess, a little bit of a human side to them as well. So if we're talking about which episodes I thought were the best, I honestly still can't pick between the first and last one. The Marshal and the Rescue are definitely my top two, and I'm not sure which one I'm gonna put at the top. Probably the Rescue. But the Marshal was so good because it was a long episode. It showed again the cooperation between the Tusken Raiders and humans, which I really thought it added a lot of depth to the universe. We got to see a Krayt Dragon in action. We got to see Boba Fett's armor, and also like the fact that they only had Boba Fett's armor at first, making us think, okay, Boba Fett is dead. But then at the end, they still show a scarred Boba Fett, meaning that he will be back later in the season. There was just some great action, and I don't know, I really thoroughly enjoyed the Marshal as an opening episode and the Rescue as a final one. I think they picked good episodes to start off and end with. And my third favorite might actually be the Tragedy, when we get to finally see Boba Fett in action. The Jedi and the Tragedy are both two almost equal episodes to me, and everything around Ahsoka in the Jedi was great, and I'm very excited to see her own series. But I just thought maybe the story of that episode, like the main objective, was just not as exciting, and it felt a bit similar to other episodes. And I also liked the environment more in the Tragedy. It seemed like a more, I don't know, Earth-like planet. And maybe that's why I picked that above. But I'm not going to sit here and rank all the episodes. In the bottom, I'll just say that I put The Passenger. That was the only episode that I actually thought was straight up boring almost, and then all the other ones are in between. So overall, I really enjoyed this season and last episode, and some of the top things were, of course, all the references from the rest of the Star Wars universe that they built upon, whether it was just a mention, they expanded the lore, and of course all the characters that they brought back, and they did it really well with all of them, whether it's Luke, Boba Fett, Ahsoka, or Bo-Katan. I thought it was all fantastic, and all the action was great as well. And really the only complaints I have is that at some points there might have been a little bit too much plot holes, whether it's like, why did that Imperial shuttle just show up out of nowhere? Or other, I guess, unrealistic / unexplained things. But that's really how all Star Wars movies have always been. So I never really cared too much about it. And some of the episodes did feel a little bit too similar, where it was just go down to a planet, do something, go back up. Go down to a planet, do something, go back up. Sometimes that made it feel like all of the episodes had the same kind of momentum, if that makes sense. Like, obviously you're gonna go to a bunch of different planets. It's Star Wars. That's not the problem. But the first half of the season, it felt like the episodes were a little bit too similar in how they were built up. But honestly, that's a pretty small complaint. And overall, again, I'm really happy with Season 2 of The Mandalorian. And I'm very excited for what you're going to do with Season 3 and what exactly the Book of Boba Fett is. I'm probably going to discuss that in another video. But I wanted to give you my thoughts on the season and the finale. I also want to end with saying, imagine if Battlefront 2 was alive and we got an official Boba Fett skin, Luke skin, Dark Troopers, Moff Gideon, Darksaber. It really sucks that we're not getting any of that in a game. But nevertheless, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.